Hi, folks. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get going, I've got to pay some bills around here. So, first and foremost, we need to put a big shout out to our good friends over at IndieCD.org. That's the Independent Creator Directory, your one stop shop for the best and the brightest musicians, authors, creatives of all flavor who can help you make your independent writing and artistic dreams come true. We're also made possible by sales of, oh, I know what's wrong. I'm sorry. No, I realized I was looking at it and like, why is this not working right? Because I need this going. Um, Sales of the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear. These guys are my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals that will take you from having never handled the sword all the way to the wonderful realm of being able to teach what you know to others, and then expand your horizons into survey courses on things like the fighting axe and the spear. The intention is to later, after my convention that I'll talk about in just a moment, we'll be having more not books in that series, because you guys as customers, as readers, seem to like the low cost, smaller volumes than the major work that is the Simple Sword, because it's a big volume. It's a lot to ask, and I understand that. Now there are plans in the works for the Simple Sword to I want to try to eventually put that in a new special edition hardcover. I'll be revamping it, and I want to been told that there's something wrong with the ebook, so I will be re-editing the ebook version of that because it does not scroll right with all systems. So I have to find some older files and tweak them. It will be an opportunity to update things just a little bit ahead of the 10-year mark, which I'd like to do. Now, before we get any further into that, I also want to put a big shout out to Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Lee Blade Thesis, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, and Steve Augusto. These fine people are my Patreon patrons who, for as little as $1 a month, help me keep my channel going and provide free education for the local people, free education online here, with the intention of adding accessibility to the art that we love and enjoy. Now, theoretically, we are approaching spring, guys, and that does mean we need to start getting in shape. I've been kind of preaching this quite a bit lately, but I think it's important that we really stop and evaluate ourselves, because many times martial artists and athletes do not necessarily intersect like one would think they would. And I wanted to stop and talk about this. Now, I will say, of course, that this is on a subjective scale and an adjustable one for you. Okay, so a lot of times when people ask, well, how can I improve as a martial artist? I one thing I say is there are two ways, basically. Go back to the basics. Okay. All the way back. Because when you're having trouble with a mathematical problem, you don't understand the function before it. So if you're having trouble with multiplication or division, you need to double check your addition and subtraction skills. Then you go through your order of up and all this other things. Same with what we do. That being, you have to you really need to build up what started the system. It's always a tower. You have to build a great foundation, and from a great foundation, you can. I'm sorry. If if you don't have a good foundation, the whole house falls down. Exactly. So that is the first part of it from the actual martial arts standpoint. And hello, Trey, and hi, Cindy. Great to see both of you. My watch counter is not telling me who's actually here, so I don't know who else watching this, but folks, please like, share, and subscribe to this. Now, that's part of it. The other thing that gets, not discussed enough is the need for basic athleticism. Now, I will say, just like myself and other people with chronic diseases, conditions, etc., this is a sliding scale. And I am again at the arc of the year where I'm at basically my weakest, because the limitations of going out in winter and these after effects of a lot of my mobility issues are kind of peaking this time of year. But with and hello, Cindy. I don't remember if I said hi, so I want to say hi. With spring coming, and outdoor participation, especially if you're a LARPy, I hate that, a LARPer. I don't want to be derogatory. It's because I started largely in the SCA. I have to fight certain biases. And I personally don't hold them, but the patterns were kind of ingrained, and you have to break those patterns. The only way you can improve yourself is by seeing what you're doing and catching yourself and amending it as soon as possible. So, hello, Thesis. So we're going to take a step from my usual, these are the drills we need to go over, and go to, you need to build your basic athleticism. Okay? That is... you're going to want to look at strength, mobility, flexibility. Okay? Now, before I go into this, I do need to put a caveat. I am not a medical care provider of any sort. I am not, a doctor or anything. And in fact, especially this time of year, it's a good time to check in with your doctor about your physical condition and ask for ways to improve it. So this is a good time to start doing basic aerobics, basic calisthenics, simply walking and doing more as a mental, as ramping up into the increased activity that spring will bring. Now, I still do my drills every night, basically religiously. And I use the 20 figure as a baseline. But as I'm working through the drills, because I've done it so many times now, I'm at a point where 20 is it is a maintenance level. And that's 20 shots from each of the 8 positions, because the 9th position is simply weight bearing and has to deal with footwork. So I do 20 shots from the linear. I do a modified version of a dual wielding version of the 4 offline shots, 4 offline parries to keep my cuts and parries in place. And then I do extensions with the arm rotations, 20 one way, 20 the other way. Holding the swords, it is a weight that affects. Now, before I do any of that, holding my sword straight up, I do, and I've got this from physical therapists, and I'll explain why in a bit. But what I do is elbows are sunked in, and you just sort of open the door as far out, and it compresses your shoulder blades, and then you pull it back. Now, the reason that I'm doing this particular exercise, this is not really guard related. It's not far from a guard, but the reason I'm doing that one is because there are certain essentially comorbidities that happen with both my lifestyle and having ADHD. I have an ADD diagnosis. They gave me that because I'm an adult, so they don't want to throw the H there, kind of old school. Not going to worry about it. It's enough to qualify into, you look into this, and please, when you have a condition that you've been diagnosed with, study how you can work on it from respectable sources. You're looking for .edus. You're looking like you're using Google Scholar. Yes, you may have to read medical reports. I also find that the British health system has amazing resources for a lot of things that our systems don't, because it's preventative. And by doing that, you can solve problems before you need to be charged for them. Anyway, one of the things that happens is as part of the hypermobility that often runs as a comorbidity of ADD, and just the development, the muscle group that's basically kind of diamond shape right between your shoulder blades is not as defined as it should be. And that's why so many people with ADHD end up with this forward head position. So you can work on your posture all you want and it'll still not be there. That's because that muscle isn't developed right, the one that holds the back of your head up. And it's very hard for those of us who also are computer oriented. We're always typing, we're always on our phone, always hunched. We need to pull that back, both using our posture and develop, for in my case, and I don't know about you, talk to your doctor, but developing that muscle group, very specific. And I felt a big difference. I'm sorry, I saw a comment and that's like, no, I wanted to jump on it, but I have so many comments behind, I'm going to have to rotate through. So I will get to your guys' comments, but I'm trying to keep a little on the rails. It's pulling my head back, which is where it's supposed to be. Why is that important? This is going to affect two things. One, it's going to affect my balance, my posture. Remember, I always say you start from the foundation's fencing. How you stand. By pulling my head back, shoulders back properly when I'm on the field, it allows me more room for my chest to expand and contract, which means I can build up these muscles and get better breathing-based stamina simply by fixing my posture. It ensures that I am in the right position, especially for an upright style like Spanish. So if I am going the Thibault manner, by having this, it puts me where I'm supposed to be, and I'm not leading with my head as much, which makes it just that little bit harder to get head sniped. All of this is because I'm working a tiny muscle group, in the middle of my back that I literally have never thought of before. I saw this article, looked into it, and I started doing that. And I am looking for other exercises like that. I know there are wall ones, very similar to jumping jacks, but with my current weight and my joint issues, impact is my enemy, so I can't do aggressive exercises. I also can't do many forms of traditional push-ups or weightlifting because of the carpal and cubital tunnel and general wrist damage. So it means there's constant tweaking. But now is a great time because February through about the middle of March, usually, sometimes to the end of March, it is very cold. It is very wet. And there are several there are lots of YouTube channels you can find that that will reference that. It's very, very good material. But now is the time to do honest evaluations. I also, when I start doing something different, I tell you guys about it. So any change you see in me, I want you to know how exactly I got there. And I have been doing a very specific exercise where I put my hand on a chair for balance leaned over, and I lift up a weight and I set it down. Uh, very, it's hard to show here, but very much like a punch, put down at full extension back, then I push forward. Uh, that weight that I use is a gallon of water. I have gallons of water around because my breathing machine requires them. So I, if I have two of them on hand, it depends. I will alternate arms, and then I will lift them up as high as I can and put them down very slowly, very carefully to build up the wing muscle, for lack of a better term. A lot of that's helping with my ability to handle the weight of the weapon and the stamina of the weapon. I am coming, though I've done so much, I have to remember that it is a very long, very shallow uh, growth development. Okay. So we're looking and we're tracking it across a long, I mean, we're probably at 4 to almost 5 years of trying to get back where I need to be with major, issues in the middle. So by working on those areas, my upper body is starting to function. However, my not to run the jokes of leg day, of skipping leg day, I now feel, because this is doing better, I can feel that my legs need more development. Now, it's harder because for me, a lot of the leg issues are neurological, and it's tricky to work on that. But it also comes with the need, guys, for us to maintain, and I'm not saying great, but a reasonable sleep schedule, a reasonable diet, and at least a reasonable level of hydration. Because of some of the medicines I'm on, I have to fight hydration constantly. It's just part of the things they put me on. But if I have to remember it, reminding you is probably a good idea. Now, I fight horrendous insomnia. Insomnia is a long-standing companion. I won't even call an opponent at this point. We've been together too long. And one good thing is actually Joe Bachman. I talked to him before for many of my shows. Called me on it. He's like, Nick, you got to get some sleep, bro. And you are right. So while I am in lead up for basically this next week, because the 24th is the Independent Creator Convention in Fowler, Indiana, which I don't, let me see. Can I bring that up here? It is not over here yet. So I'm going, yes, that's what I want. I want this. I want this. I'm going to, my stuff is going to flip over. Don't worry about the color. It's just me finding where the thing is. But I will be at the Independent Creator Convention in Fowler, Indiana. It's free to the public. We have a whole bunch of wonderful people at the Benton County Annex building, also known as the Purdue Extension in Fowler on 410 South Aid Way. The A is for what room it is. It's the big middle room. Signage will be present. Fowler, Indiana, 47944. Now, because I have to be there, and it can be open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., I personally will be there on site, barring complete disaster, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's excluding the extra cleanup time and the vendor-only setup time. All that's tangled up. So please, if you're in the area, or you can be in the area next Saturday. Am I right? Am I right? Are we? Look, I gotta go over here to look. Sorry. Yep. Not this coming Saturday, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, the 24th. You can see us. You can see, meet Joe Bachman, meet Trelana, who you know from this. Thesis and Foxy will have some of their materials shown and demonstrated by our friend Don Dulas, Brian K. Morris, Carl Witzman, great authors, and and some great artists. Luke Stone, my old business partner when I was doing games for him, will be there. It's just a great chance to, if you ever want to meet me or some of these people. So I want to let you guys know because that's a big deal. Now let me get back to where I belong for this channel. Sorry. But getting back, this is the time where what you are doing is you're getting in shape to get in shape. And the reason I'm harping on this is, frankly, especially HEMA guys, you have three distinct physical overarching archetypes that you see around SCA fighting, HEMA groups, LARP groups. There's so many subcategories of this, but you see it. Even Eastern martial arts to an extent. You have the very young, very spry, healthy people. You have the dad bods of various two extremes. And then you have the few people who are incredibly athletically minded who are freaking ripped. You know, they're in great shape. They're very agile. You know, they look good. I'm trying to think of physical representations of this, but the really healthy fencer guys usually end up, the fencer guys looking like Jack Z. Whipper. You see that long, lean kind of motion of it. The heavier combat guys usually are larger gentlemen. They may be carrying more weight, but a tremendous amount of muscle. And you see that. I'm aiming in at the center group for this. And there are a lot of ladies who get in their perspective variant of that. If we want to do this, I really do believe it's a three-tier thing. We have to deal with it spiritually, we have to deal with it mentally, and we have to deal with it physically. The spiritual is not something I get into often here, because I don't want to misidentify what this channel is, what it's about, or my policies. I will say, aligning yourself with the positive. Okay? Now, I say that because literally every great thing in my life has come to me as an adult through the world I carved out for myself with practice swords. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I met my wife. I met the people who inspired me to finally get published properly. I met the people who got me into gaming. I met Joe and Trelena, the best friends I've ever had. Like, mind-blowing. I didn't think friendships like that existed outside of television programs, because I was kind of educated early on that friends are the people who are nice to you till you stop being useful. And it's taken me a long time to realize, no, I just was surrounded by jerks. I came into fencing, and I start with the fencing because I carried a lot of anger, and I needed a way to control it, to not to let it run rampant, cathartically, as some of the more aggressive styles, which I do to a limited extent now. This style, not relative catharsis. But you have to be in that. You have to be in the mindset. Okay, so you need to be thinking about whatever else is on your mind. Okay, the good things in your life, the bad things in your life, what's stressing you, what isn't stressing you, what you want, what you're thinking, all that noise in your head, you just got to leave it outside the list field. And it takes a long time to learn how to do that. You just sort of got to hang it on a hook. It'll be there when you get there. When you're done, all that stuff will still be there. But when you're sparring, especially, and you have to drill like you were sparring, you have to maintain the same kind of focus, because part of what you're doing is you're practicing maintaining your focus that long, maintaining your attention. You can't let your attention wander when someone has a stick and is trying to hit you with it, even in the name of fun and entertainment, let alone serious things. It's very much like the meditation meditational. I'm not quite sure how linguistically that would go, but effects of any form of marksmanship, archery, air guns, firearms, knife throwing, darts, whatever. You have to focus everything in on what you're doing, and nothing else matters. This is very beneficial for everyone. Okay. And then your body has to be in a condition first to do it safely. I'm not looking for success at the early levels. I'm not looking for success at the early practices and starts as the year kind of ka-tunk, 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 and people are willing to come out and such. No. I'm looking for safe functionality. Everybody stretches, everybody drills, everybody hydrates. From there, and only from there, can you get to that next level where you're working on form, where you're working on point control, you're working on timing. And that's the thing. For all the wonders of what you can learn to sword fight, it boils down to only a few simple to understand, incredibly complex to achieve, time-consuming things. You have to learn your reach. You need to know your reach. How far you, with your sword at maximum, inside, and the sweet kill zone in the middle. Okay? You need to know where all those are visually, almost audibly, tactily. Okay? It has to be through you. You have to know you and the weapon you're training with. So you don't, when you're new, want to be swapping through a bunch of weapons. You pick one that feels comfortable and you train the living out of it. And when you can do it as first or second nature, then you pick up something else. But you have to love that first weapon. You have to let it become an extension of you. And I know that sounds very cliche. It sounds very Mr. Miyagi, but it's absolutely true. But from there, my dear friends, we have to then we're worrying about range. We know how far we can reach. We need to know how far the target is away from us. This is why we do drills with stationary targets. This is why we do drills with moving targets. This is why you set up a pillow and you poke it. Heck, this is why any martial artist, if they are left alone when they are putting their dishes away, are going to put their dishes away a little odd. You will see, and I mean this, any of them. Thesis, you know I'm calling you out on this because I know without a doubt that door gets open. Your favorite parry, your favorite block is going to close the door or open the door. You're going to sweep, using your low kicks to close the dishwasher, things like that. Because when you start training, the motions you learn become the motions you use. The running joke was from my buddy Jason was that he could always tell me from a crowd because I'm the only person who fences everywhere I go. Yeah. Yes, we're martial artists. Of course we close things with our feet. Yes, just yes. And because I've dabbled in a lot of things, my version of that can look really weird because it goes by what feels right in the moment. But you now have established yourself. You've established the range to your target. Then comes timing. And timing is why we do very special kinds of drills, where one of my favorite drills is the parry riposte, drill. Real simple. Half speed, preferably, to start until people start getting good. You're going to throw a shot. Fine. You throw a shot at me, I parry it, and then I counter. Parry, riposte. Now you deal with the shot that's coming. And it becomes a very fluid game of, I'm going to say this. Oh, you disagree? Counterpoint here. Well, I see your counterpoint, but I'm going to have to redirect here and respond with this point. And what you get is that physical discussion. Now, this is a very organized physical discussion. This is not an argument, it is a debate. I take my turn, you take your turn. I take my turn, you take your turn. Optimally, at its fastest, this is what line fencing, strip fencing, collegiate fencing, Olympic fencing, whatever you want to call it. And I don't care if you're saber, foil, or epee. That's what they have. That is their world, if it's done properly. Deal with the threat first and then respond. This is how you prevent double kills. This is how you prevent a lot of idiocy. These are great drills and can be done on the line, or even stationary. It's a good place to do hot box drills where people are in a box that's taped on the floor. You don't leave the box for people like me who back up way too much, or are people who are too aggressive. Learning how to be still in combat and deal with your defense being your parries, not your void, not your step voids, not your footwork. That is the method that's going to build a lot of that sense of timing, that sense of rhythm. Yes, fixed step fencing. It literally is a drill I do. I have been known to chalk out little squares to you stay and you just do, and that teaches the confidence, the steadfastness in the face of the storm. It forces you to your stance to bend like a willow, not break like an oak. So it's a valuable drill. It also teaches you the way to perceive something coming at you when you need to deal with it, when you don't. That timing starts to overlap, and it becomes an effect that happens as ranges change. And once you have somebody who can do that, now you get into doing that in the round. What I mean by in the round means now you're in a list field of some size, at least 12 feet. 25 is a really nice list field, somewhere in there. As flat as possible for simplicity and safety. Preferably grass or something you can take a fall on. And now you're going to play that same game. You're going to play patty cake for a while. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And you're going to try things, but you're also moving, you're engaging, and you're still playing patty cake. You're still parry, riposte, parry, riposte, parry, riposte, parry, riposte, parry, riposte. It's like, Nick, you're not saying start it. No. But starting it's easy. And you can almost always rely on a hothead to start something. Because any real application, you shouldn't have to start. There are very few defensive situations where you have to be the aggressor. And that's only if you're defending someone else or possibly something else, like your home. And in either of those settings, knowing how to read people and picking your initial strike will be a devastating effect. It just is. But we practice this give and take. And then after you've gotten used to that, and people can do that in their sleep, then you go, okay, we're going to pull all these little fetters off you. Proceed. It's like, when I start you with your footwork, you don't cross your legs. I don't care if it means you're stutter stepping around. You don't cross your legs, because the vast majority of people certainly don't know their left foot from their right foot. But from there, we can move forward. And after you've gotten where you know how your body's going to move, you know where your center of gravity is, then you can do different things like transverse steps and, chambering pre-chambering a lunge, even though that does telegraph. But there are things like that you can do once you've established what a proper base is supposed to be and how to regain it once you've lost it. Very much like you have to learn how to fall down a lot in most martial arts. So, I've been talking for about, there goes my stylus. One moment, please. Anyway. Good evening, Ms. Karen. I'll be getting into the comments in just a moment, but this was something that's really heavily weighed on my mind, and I wanted to make sure you guys were getting the concept, because the way to build up is something a lot of people ask and a lot of people think about. How do you get back into form? How do you get into form the first way? It's almost like I have just described to you the methodology that I use when I take somebody after I've taught them the basic guards and they've established that they are safe, they are reasonable, and that all their equipment works, and how to progress them step by step by step through to being able to fight on their own. It's almost like every student who comes through my doors has to go through that song and dance with me. But I've been talking for quite a while, and I did have to skip over some of the comments to keep my mental acuity going. So I'm going to go hop through the comments and try to catch up, and we'll see what you guys have been talking about. I've caught pieces of it, but I don't want you to feel neglected. And since there's some people who come later, it'll give me a chance to lightly rehash anything that needs to be discussed. So, Helena says, if you don't have a good foundation, the whole house falls down. Yep, I've seen it, guys. I've seen people choose not to train the way I suggest and fail miserably. I've seen them get hurt. I've seen them hurt others. There are reasons for this. And we've got greetings from Cindy, and we've got Trelana greetings, Cindy. And don't forget to tune into the Historical Fencing Guild tonight at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's the link for this show, like this episode, because Cindy does that as she waves. Hi, Cindy. And any other Friday at 7 p.m., look, this is our channel. Yeah. And I am almost religiously on about this. I do intend to have this stream next Friday too. I don't think I'm going to cancel it because I don't think I'll be able to do anything that would advance us at this point, and the more normal cycle will be much better for helping me sleep through the excitement. And we've got Thesis greeting everybody. I'm sorry. I need a drink. All that talking was very thirst-inducing. There we go. And oh, I'm sorry. The big stompy robots with swords, axes, and spears and melee while whispering about Haints and Hellfire. That is my Amazon store where you can get all my books, not just my historical fencing guild related books, but my fiction, including my latest horror novel, Haints and Hellfire. I've been getting very good reviews about it. It is a wonderful Appalachian set. I'm building a new world with this. This is a volume 1. I am somewhere around 17,000 words into the second one. So this is something that's going to be around for a little bit anyway. Ed Cindy says, "Hey-yo!" And my art can be found at deviantart.com/NickT. I've been there for 20 years. I don't intend to go anywhere else anytime soon. And Thesis says, "You might see a bump in the sales of the Simple Spear. If you do, you're welcome." I actually noticed that this morning. So if you've already done that, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Either through your own purchase or your suggestions. And if you haven't, well, that's cool too. Thank you for that. If you were just, recommending it. So thank you. I do love when people buy my books. That money allows me to keep my shows going and allows me to put money away to build a legacy for my son, which is why I do a lot of what I do. And Foxy says, "Good evening." And I say good evening to her. And Cindy says, patreon.com/the historical fencing guild. Help others be dangerous safely. Yes, there are things coming to the guild as soon as I am done with this big convention buildup, because unfortunately the vast majority of my time is being wrapped up in the show running aspects of the convention. Cindy says, "I learned more about HEDS in 30 minutes of net nerding than I did in talking to 6 medical professionals. It wasn't until I got to the 7th and 8th professional that helped. It took me 15 years of chasing doctors across 4 medical systems to try to get an answer to a very simple question. Why, occasionally, do I just fall over?" And I finally have some answers. And that's part of why I take so many meds and I have to be so careful about what I'm doing. But yeah, it's a long haul. Hey, Epoxy. And I started doing shoulder mobility exercises. It's been helping my whole torso and neck. And I can see it in the way you're sitting and you're moving, Trey. It really does show. I don't know if you're back to hear this, but it really does show. There's a YouTube channel that does shorts and gives you exercises for different mobility issues. There are several of them. I like to look up registered physical therapists and then go, okay, if you have this problem, you look through them. And then what I do is I cross-reference. I look through a whole bunch of them. And just like I approach fencing, if they're all saying something similar, that is something I put into my repertoire if I think it will work. Then I try it very lightly, very slowly, and very consistently for upwards to a month. If it's not hurting me and I feel like it's doing good, it gets built into things. And Cindy says, "Bummer, you're too far from Des Moines. Shadowfist has a stretching and conditioning class every week that does a lot of those sorts of exercises." It sounds like you have a really great organization, Cindy, and I'm really, really glad that you do. Foxy says, "I've been working on several different areas." Excellent. Slow and steady, continuous build up and get where you want to be. But it's going to take that. And Thesis shared a link of, I believe, that's related to the other things. And Cindy says, "Have fun, sell all the things." She's referring to the Independent Creator Convention that I'll be holding in Fowler, Indiana. Hopefully we'll sell enough to offset the different things that have gone on. Joe Bachman teleports in, drops like tips his hat to the host, grabs a wire, teleports out. "Joe, you need to sell that teleporter." "I really wish he would," side eyes Joe. then we might actually be there. I'm going to find a way to make one, please. That would make practices so much nicer, and tea parties and shenanigans, possibly like Spy Family viewings. I don't know, but that just sounds fun. If we had a teleporter, we'd be at the con and every guild sparring session. Yes, Tourist Traps would love that. Yeah. We could get the family together. Yeah. Yeah, just now you're sounding like a mafia don, Trey. Not that I'm complaining. You understand. On this, the day of my rat's wedding, you come to me and you say, and Thesis says, "Hey, I'm a wolf, not a rat." And Trelane "But I have rats as pets." And Foxy is scratching his ears. I have been accused of being something like a mafia don. I understand this. It is a great slander upon my character, and yet I must admit I appreciate the respect from those who understand the meaning of that title. A little respect goes a long way, and a lack of respect is remembered. You see, it hurts me in my heart, and then I have to do things that I do not want to do. Funny you mentioned weddings, though. Foxy and I found out that my cousin is getting married in April. She remembers helping him with his elementary school homework. It is something to bump into people you knew. My favorite tattoo artist, I don't have any for assorted medical reasons. Again, shock, but his name's Sterling Freeman. I subbed for him when he was very young and through high school. To meet him, his girlfriend, and his many children was a trip for me. And Sterling, on the off chance you're watching this, wife that girl. Just wife her now, if you haven't already. And Trelane says, "Aw, yeah, that's cool." The little one that I call my youngest student is his niece. That's delightful. And Trelane, I have to duck out and take care of some chores. Talk to you all soon. Well, Trey, it was great having you here. Thank you. See you later. We're martial artists. Of course we close things with our feet. Ask Foxy how I close the freezer at work. It's generally with my foot. And yes, fixed stepped fencing is part of what's also been called hotbox training. It is a wonderful forced skill because it forces you to address some of the issues. And I open drawer and close drawers with my feet all the time. I'm not surprised. And believe it or not, I just glanced at your icon, Foxy. And this whole time, I didn't get to see it clearly. And I didn't think it was a fox jumping with the flowers and stuff. I thought it was a humanoid kitsune with a dress. And it just now cleared. I'm sorry, I found that up. I also pick things up with my toes quite often. You're not the only one. And Thesis says, I also will punch, block, or otherwise. But oh god, if you speed bag, that's why I have the tennis ball style target in the transition between my living room and my kitchen, because I will sit with my cane and just tink, 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 and it actually use it as a diagnostic tool. Because if I can get a good 3 or 4 bounces before I miss, I'm doing pretty well today. If I can't hit it for the life of me, I know that something's probably wrong. My accuracy isn't where it should be, and I need to check on basic needs: sleep, food, and water. Double check that I got my meds. I need some more air again. Okay, air up your speed bag. And come join the tea house tomorrow and watch a 43-year-old man drool over swords I would like to add to my collection. That sounds like a great time, and I hope to see it. And we're joined by Miss Saren, who came in earlier, and I said hi. This lovely woman, this talented, brilliant young lady, is voicing an audiobook version of Haints and Hellfire. And she sent me samples, and it is beyond surreal how spot on she got so many in her very first attempt. Like, I hear Billy. I hear the other characters that I've written. Miss Crimson will put the proper types of chill through you. Trust me. She's phenomenal. And I just, I can't wait to see the end of that project, because it just takes me there. At one point, I was listening to her read a big chunk of the chapter. I'm like, this is a pretty good book. Oh yeah, I wrote it. No, you were marvelous, Miss Aaron. And we've got a whole bunch of greetings, and she's doing pretty good. And I'm glad to hear that. It's always nice at the end of the day when you're worn out and can finally relax. And hydration is good. I've got comment dump, so I'm gonna. Oh, okay. There was a post on R Swords on Reddit talking about how the spear is the ultimate weapon. I just had to post the Amazon link to the simple spear. The simple spear is really one of my favorite things that I've written for simple practicality. If you really like it, Thesis, there was in a, I don't think it's even still published, but Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine had a beautiful article of based around Wing Chun long pole, which is about a 14-foot pole used to push barges around. And it gives you a very interesting take on truly long spear techniques. And I adore it. Some absolute mad lad scanned it, and you can find the images of the pages somewhere. I'm not saying where, but I'll say it's out there somewhere. And it's necessary reading. It really influenced a lot of my approach to spear. Oh, and hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility spectrum disorder. Yeah, 50 years later, I have a name to call it. I got told my doctor was like, you have some kind of hypermobility issue, because she almost got sick. I had a wart on my foot, and she went to move my foot, and my foot just went wee, because yeah. She's like, okay, did that hurt? No. Okay. And doctor thinks I have that as well, but testing is pricey. There's no test for that. The other versions of EDS, there's a test for. Oh, there's genetic tests for the others, but my insurance won't cover them. Isn't that the way it goes? We almost drove 2 hours for the doctor to spend 3 minutes looking at Foxy and say, you're too. Between you, me, and the internet, I was integral in getting a neurologist fired, because I was having neurological difficulty, with the falling down. And they did the test, and his response was, well, you're, oh God, it wasn't morbidly obese. It was something fat. And I said, well, that's helpful. Well, just lose the weight. This has been going on since before I put the weight on. Why do you think I put the weight on? I couldn't go places without fear of keeling over. So I feel your pain on that greatly. And yep. What's the range on what's the range on teleporters anyway? Asking for a Brazilian friend. I would love to have Johnny around. He's an incredible individual. I'd love to just meet him face to face. Well, most of them work from orbit, so teleport snowballs to him. Alex says, hi all, not gonna stick around, dropping my like, and Nick replied, to your email. But it's a-okay for me question. Excellent. Thank you so much, because I want to help build your business network. And sorry, that doesn't quite apply, but it's important. Hey, Alec. And Thesis says, I must also mention my favorite indoor training exercise session, Fruit Ninja on my 360 connected 36-inch TV. Fruit Ninja is actually great for that sort of thing. There are a lot of games like that that are great. People scoff. Don't worry about scoffing. If it gets you moving and you are applying the techniques you would use, it's training. It may not be the best, it may not be the worst, but it laps the version of you sitting on the couch. Hi, Foxy. And tape the air packages that come with Amazon packages to my stabbing box and practice point work. Very good. Stabby gets balloons. His name is not Stabby. I used to have a subscription to Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine. So it's a he now? Oh, we are getting we're gendering weapons. This is always delightful. However, whoa. Okay. Sorry, I had a pop-up just go because I got in the wrong place at the right time. So, for Fruit Ninja, you have to have training yourself not just to slash randomly. And you're making progress on Stabby. I am intrigued. The trick with it is I would rather have you do something that's less effective than other things, but better than doing nothing. I am very, and I think Cindy will be happy to pitch in on this one. Nothing or something is better than nothing or everything, you know? All or nothing or something or nothing. When you can take your mentality and break, and it's really hard for me, you could ask my wife. I am very, very rigid in certain types of thinking, especially when it comes to morality. Allowing something to be better than nothing will open huge worlds to you. You can't measure by an outside things. Oh, he doesn't want me to name the box Stabby. Maybe he doesn't want whatever you're stabbing to be named. And he had said Gur Arg, and all I could think is bad robot. But actually, no, that's Mutant Productions. Yeah, that's Joss Whedon's old crew. But I do want you guys, and I know this wasn't an exciting, fun one, but yes, do something. Sitting on your can on the couch perpetually will result in lots of issues. Here's the deal. I got laid out medically, and I am dealing with the ramifications of having to be laid out long term in forms of atrophy and weakness and general, I don't want to say malaise, but it affects you. That's part of why I destroyed that couch. It was something I had, it was a dragon I had to slay in a more literal sense than normal. He's admitting it's a he. You're getting progress. You really are, Foxy. And that's what we're talking about here. Even if that's a tongue-in-cheek progress. You want to advance. You want to move forward in your skill set. Okay? So we do that by starting sooner. A lot of people right now are at the peak of the winter wallow. Now we're in the long, dark, cold days of winter. Oh my God. Where won't spring get here? Oh my God. And that happens. But we're going, if I do a little bit today, I'll be a bit better. So I can do a little bit tomorrow. So I can do a little bit the next day. And it's cumulative effect over time. Improving is cumulative effect over time. Your gung fu, your kung fu, your skill, your developing things like tacto. It's all slow. Train slow, learn fast. Understand your body, understand what it needs to function. Let's see. Well, if I looked at it as a she, I wouldn't want to stab it, at least not with a sword. I understand that, but the hammers of justice are rated E for everybody. That's right. The hammers of justice are unisex. These hands are rated E for everybody. Got to keep my quotes straight. I've been doing a lot of hand exercises, trying to get my hand strength back up for making things. I understand it. The only reason my hands work as well as they do is I follow the doctor's orders, and I did the occupational therapy. I can feel when it starts to get tight that I need to do that. Equal rights, equal fights. Absolutely. Hey, Johnny. And that's not me being rude to anyone. I train everybody with the same mentality, and I adjust my training to their needs, their physicality, and their mentality. My mentality doesn't change. I'm the instructor. I know what I'm talking about. How I present it and how I channel and direct them to advance their training changes. But you need, when you're getting back into shape, you need to first do analysis, guys. You have to look at yourself and honestly, openly evaluate what your condition is and how you can improve it. And then, aside from a wholesome discipline, you need to get you need to be gentle with yourself. Because on top of everything else, this should be fun. Okay? It should be play. And the reason I'm saying it should be play and it should be enjoyable is it has been proven time and time again that we learn best from play. We perform best when we are in our element. And by adjusting our position and adjusting our goals, our victory conditions to line up so that they're achievable over time in a measurable way so we can keep track. I have a weight goal. I want to be under 300 pounds. I want to be under 300 pounds by the end of the year. At last check, I was about 315. Now, that sounds like a little, but because of some of my conditions, setting it way off and working towards it, if I get there early, groovy. If I don't, I'm still holding myself accountable. That's, the methodology. Because I spent nearly 2 years laid out. And you just put on weight and you lose muscle in that condition. And you have to slowly build yourself back up. So I am slowly building myself back up. And you guys have seen the results. You can watch my videos and see the physical changes. So when I suggest these things, it is from somebody saying, this is the path I walked. There is no easier way that will work. There just isn't. Any shortcut that people will try to tell you is either a lie or will fail in the long run. You just have to get where you need to be. And I need to get a hold of a decent Hanjin trainer so I can practice with someone closer to what I use. I thought PHA had one, and if not, get on, contact Christian, and say, please, I would like to order one of these at your earliest convenience. It'll be $40 plus shipping. Now, there is something I want to order, and it is very expensive for my measure. I won't be able to do it till after this whole convention arc, but there was that Vietnamese company, the Vietnamese Fight Club, basically, that's making their own trainers, and they have a cup hilt that basically sings to my soul. So I may just order it to review it and put their stuff out there because I really love helping smaller companies. PHA doesn't have one, and South Coast Sword / Black Fencer is both out of them, and when they come in, they are incredibly expensive. So I would love to find an alternative. I would prefer for PHA to make a cup hilt rapier. A synthetic, that is. But they have yet to do so. So we'll figure something out. I am currently using that Blades USA Green Destiny gin, but it feels off. If it feels off, one, I would love to know why. What makes it feel off to you? And two, if you have the means, if you have like a digital scale, there was going around, and I don't know if you could still find it, what was it? Sword agility chart, which you could punch in the weight, the blade length, the point of balance, and it would give you a range of how effective the angles of the sword would be while fighting, and to give you what it's good for. It's a fascinating tool. I would look into that, especially if you're going to start reviewing weapons on your channel, Thesis. And it's a great way to analyze a weapon that you can't get your hands on. And Foxy says, I'd like to get back under 200, but one of the meds I am on makes me put on some weight. And that happens. The guard is too big, the pommel's the wrong shape, and the blade is the wrong shape. Well, that's you're using what you have, knowing it's not quite right. I understand that. I have lived in that place. I'm still questing for a couple items, but we'll see. Now, I have gone just over my hour, and I am having a little bit of stomach issues. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to call it here. I'm going to say thank you guys for a lovely chat. I hope this was an educational one. I know it wasn't the most dramatic and exciting episode, but I do think some real quality learning was there. Well, yes. LK Chen makes wonderful things, but yes, the money makes it financially prohibitive. So Saturday, being tomorrow at 7:30, see, I left a note. Thesis is having his show. Please go watch it. Please like, share, and subscribe to him. Like, share, and subscribe to me. Guys, you need to do your drills. Keep your eyes open. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, friends, thank you for supporting your local Swordmaster. I will be back next week, most likely, unless something has gone hideously wrong with show setup, for another episode of the Historical Fencing Guild Livestream. I love you guys, and you should too. Toodles.